Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. I am absolutely honored to welcome to the show two-time Emmy-nominated host, Jedediah Bila, and author of #DoNotDisturb. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me on. This is great.
What an important message in today's world. Do not disturb.
Yeah, I was buried in technology. I was one of those people that went from a sane person who would have heart-to-heart conversations face-to-face and, you know, not be buried in a device to all of a sudden I was getting up at, 3 o'clock in the morning. I had the phone next to my bed. I would get up in the middle of the night. I'd be sending texts. I'd be sending tweets. My work day was never ending. The boss emails at 8 o'clock at night and you're on the phone till, God knows what time answering them. I wasn't sleeping well. I was stressed out. I was anxiety ridden. I always felt like I wasn't giving anyone any time because, you sit at dinner with someone. You have your attention divided between them and all the people in your phone. Your phone's buzzing, the notifications go off, you rush to the bathroom and you're like, let me catch up real quick. It's crazy. You start to lose your mind.
I am completely guilty as charged. So what was the breaking point for you?
Yeah, so there was a moment when, a couple, but the first moment was when I left my phone in a taxi cab in New York City, got out, I was supposed to have a great night out with friends, and all of a sudden I realized I didn't have my phone. I panicked. I mean, cold sweats, freaking out, trembling, canceled my whole night, worried, who has the phone? What are they able to get into my phone? What am I missing? Is there a work email that I'm not going to get now and I'm not going to get this job or that? And I got the phone back at the end of the night and I realized I hadn't really missed anything except the 4 hours that I had spent looking and thinking about the phone. And my whole night was ruined and I said, you know what? I have a problem. This is not this was not a human being that I lost, like a dog or a person or something with a heartbeat. This was a cell phone, So I realized I have to do something about this. I self-diagnosed myself with OCTD. I call it obsessive compulsive tech disorder. And I said, I'm going to change my life. I'm not going to get rid of my phone. I think technology can be really cool. There's a lot of, digital stuff that I love. I still have a social media. I'm not going to, go back to the Telegraph and pretend it's not 2018. But I'm going to use this stuff in a way that's healthier, where the people in my life that I spend quality time with face-to-face feel important again, and where I have the sanity of a couple hours before bed, peace of mind, where I'm not staring at this phone. How many of us can even watch a movie anymore without, you're watching the movie, you're on the iPad, you've got the phone nearby, all of a sudden it buzzes, you're tending to that, and I have to pause it, rewind. I mean, this is not normal. No. So I felt really not myself, and I said, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do something. And I did.
So true. I remember years ago when I found out how bad the technology from your cell phone is for you. And I was like, I told all my friends, look, I'm just going to use my computer now, and I'll just didn't work out at all. Like trying to do it from your computer, the old school way you can do it, didn't work. But so tell me, so we know that technology can be used for good or for bad.
Right.
So what does it look now? What does it look like for you to control it and use it instead of it using you? What does that look like?
So the first thing that I did, which was really important, was I took the phone out of the bedroom and I said, I'm going to give myself a cell phone curfew at the end of the night. I work in news, so I have to be plugged in. But I said, you know what? I don't need to be plugged in at 11 o'clock at night. So whatever time I decide to go to sleep, I take a couple hours before that. I stick it in a docking station in the living room. I enjoy quality time with my husband, who's here watching right now. We hang out, we talk. If, there's a friend over, or, say you have a roommate and you want to have a face-to-face conversation, something's been going on in their life and you want to sit down and talk about it. Or you just want to watch a movie or a television show, an old episode of Friends or whatever it is you like, with just that one thing going on. I developed what I called tunnel vision for real life, where it was just like, that's going to be my time to enjoy real life. I don't get up in the middle of the night and look at the phone anymore because it's not near me. Studies have shown, it's really interesting, that even if you're not on the phone, and even if the phone is not lit up, if the phone is near you in proximity, you are compelled to want to look at it. You are restless just by virtue. If we were sitting here and my cell phone was right here, this is a distraction to me, whether it's blinking or not. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get it out of there. Another thing I did that was really easy and really good was to turn off the notifications. I know some people have done that already. But when I used to see, if I would leave my phone for an hour or two and I would then go look at it and see it completely lit up, I would feel so anxiety, like, how am I going to get back to all these people? And then you spend, oh my God, I got to do this. Oh my gosh, and you feel the adrenaline rushing and the panic. now I don't do that anymore. I decide when I want to go into those spaces. I can still use Twitter. I can still use Facebook. I can still watch this great show, but I can decide when I want to do that. It's not like beckoning me constantly. Come, tend to me, talk to me, help me.
It's not an addiction.
It's not an addiction. It is managed now, and it's really cool to feel empowered in that respect. And I'm, just so you guys know, I know people know me from TV, but I'm a former teacher, former dean of a high school, academic dean. Yeah, I worked with kids for years, and I saw this problem developing slowly, and then all of a sudden, very quickly. And kids don't know how to, what we're doing right now, we're having this face-to-face conversation. Yeah. Kids really struggle with that. They're not used to it. They're developing health ailments like ADHD is on the rise, coinciding with these devices. They're getting back pain and ailments that no 5-year-old should have.
It's interesting you say that, because I have a dear friend that he's a volleyball teacher, and he says, and you can't believe the younger generation, they're completely different. It's a completely different thing. They don't know how to just engage in a conversation eye to eye because it's not their form of communication. I was thinking, oh my gosh, you never even thought about that because we didn't grow up glued to our phones like now. So I'm sure there's some people that are actually truly addicted. I wonder, do you know much about that? Like if someone's truly dealing with an addiction to their phone, how can they handle it?
Yeah, I mean, there are detox centers. It was interesting. When you think of a detox center, you think of alcoholism, drug addiction, what we typically know that to be. There are detox centers popping up around the country for cell phone addiction, where people go into these centers, and like anything else, that, you know, they take the phone away from you and you learn to have peace of mind without it. This is something I saw with kids all the time. Because in schools, you would confiscate the cell phones, and I cannot tell you the panic that would ensue, because these phones have become security blankets for them. This is their whole life in their phone. When you take it away, they feel, I'm not going to be relevant, I'm not going to be popular, my friends are going to feel that they're not my friends anymore, I'm not going to be in with what the cool kids are doing. And we think of it in terms of kids, but we all feel that way, right? We all have jobs where we're like, if I'm not putting a photo up of my appearance, or if I'm not constantly plugged in, someone else will be, and they'll get ahead. So I think there are legitimate cases. I had a legitimate case. People laughed at me at first. Legitimate case of cell phone addiction where it was compromising my health, my sanity, and my life. And it absolutely can happen. Think about how much time, you add up the amount of time you're on your laptop, your iPad, your cell phone in a day. Think about it. Add it up for one day and you will say, oh my gosh, you know, what am I doing?
Well, it shows it now on your phone. You have a little thing that comes up and pops
I haven't done that yet. I did hear about that, though. But that's actually a good tool. I would recommend people look at that.
It tells you exactly how much time was in. It says productivity versus social time versus whatever. Like it, I didn't even set it up. I just popped up on my phone one day. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
I was mortified. It said 4 hours and 32 minutes. And I thought, what have I done?
That's not even that bad, to be perfectly honest. I mean, you asked me beforehand. We were talking or someone asked me how long you had been on your phone. And I said, oh, easily, you know, 12, 13 hours a day. Easily.
But so much of our business is done via the phone. Like you said, you know, we're going to miss this opportunity if we don't capture this Insta story and we don't respond to our boss's email. And then next thing you know, we're completely irrelevant and jobless.
It's a you have to, and that is how you go down
the addict's mind, for sure.
That's how I was that way, where all of a sudden you see your whole life unfolding before your eyes, and you're like, this is going to be the end if I put my phone down for 2 hours. That is part of, you asked me before what people can do, and I think you have to take it slowly, step by step. It's not realistic to say, one day I'm going to be plugged into everything and the next day I'm not going to have a phone. Plus, a lot of people need their phone and they like their phone. I understand that. You have to take small steps, and you have to this was a book about reminding people that somewhere along the line, the technology that was really good took over and our real life ceased to exist. It's just about bringing some balance back into your life and remembering that, you know, we don't talk to each other so great anymore on social media. You see that. People, you know, I come from politics where people don't know how to have a conversation anymore. They're always yelling and screaming at each other. That comes from this lack of face-to-face time oftentimes. Because when I say something to any of you sitting here, I'm aware that there's a human being on the other end of that is going to be affected by what I say. So I care about how I'm wording that. I care about how that's coming out of my mouth. If I'm hiding behind a cell phone, all of a sudden I forget that there's a human being and I'm just, you know, throwing out stuff that's going to get retweets. That's not good for society, and it's definitely not good for kids.
Absolutely. You know, it's so interesting. So my area of specialty is really sort of the science of happiness. And we know, like, over the last 50 years or so, you know, there's been more unhappiness on the planet than ever before. And that unhappiness has sort of trended upwards at the same time that technology has improved and all these things have improved. And they said, well, why is that? And they said, well, emotional intelligence and cognitive and emotional agility and regulation, presence, connection, all these things that make for a really meaningful connection and really meaningful relationships is eroding because we're practicing distraction all day, every day through the phone.
Yes.
So it's just a really, really profound and important message for people to remember.
So tell us, if somebody gets this book, what can they expect?
Okay, so you're going to see a bunch of really embarrassing personal stories from me
We like
about my life. You know, everything from the mistakes I made and the things that I missed, because I didn't want to be preachy. I didn't want to say, oh, I have it all figured out. It was more a way to say, I made a lot of mistakes here, and I want you to share in my journey so you can see how I came to discover how to do things better. Everything from the crazy ex-boyfriend who had a whole separate life in his phone. You're definitely going to want to read that chapter. And, you know, just my own personal mistakes. And then my journey to kind of figure out a better balance, to remember my childhood where cell phones weren't a part of every minute of every day, to remember how dating was different back then, when you would actually go out on a date and do this and face-to-face and not do this. So a lot of walks down memory lane. And then the end is kind of my tips for how I felt that I recovered and the moments that I realized that I was a different person, where I could sit in a hair salon and my phone could be buzzing on the other side of the room, and I could say to the hairdresser, don't worry about it, I'll get that later, and not feel compelled to be like, yeah, but what's happening there, you know?
So this is a great book, I think, for someone who either is like in a relationship with someone who's too obsessed with their phone, instead of being like, don't talk on your phone, you can be like, I got a great book for you.
Exactly.
Or like your girlfriends that are just like completely inappropriate with their phone time.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, got you a little gift, you know, you might want to read that.
Yeah, and if you're a parent, or, you know, you have kids, you have nieces, you have nephews, you have grandkids, you have, you know, your friend has a kid that you see always on the phone, you're a teacher, you have any profession where you're around kids, please take the time to look at this. And I delve into, you know, a lot of the issues that kids are having, and kind of reminding us that kids emulate our behavior. So a lot of times it's easy for me, you know, as a former teacher, to say, put your phone down. But then if I'm saying, put your phone down, and I'm doing this, you know, they're not going to listen to me. And I get why. So for parents to remember that the way we communicate and the way, you know, everyone, that, you know, the way we live, they see it and they want to emulate. So and some of us have the advantage of having grown up in a time where we weren't plugged in all the time. They don't have that. They're inundated all day long. So they really need to remember why learning how to do this is important. If I had this conversation with you guys here and I had a phone out the whole time, you'd be like, well, why did we book her? What did we book her?
So we just want to say thank you so much. You're such an artist. You're such a teacher. This is a profound message for all of us. So thank you for the reminder.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it and watching you. This is going to go. It's going to be huge. People need this so badly. So thank you so much. Tell them where people can work with you, where they can find your book.
Yeah, so it's on Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. We're going to be doing a lot of fun TV spots all week. We've just launched it last week. You can find it, #DoNotDisturb, and check me out, JedediahBila.com. I have a lot to say on a lot of things. This is just one of them.
So #DoNotDisturb. Yes. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on Good Morning La La Land.